Hello and welcome to this sponsored map guide. Promotions allow me to keep doing this full time, and despite the need to buy food from time to time, I have turned down other offers. I didn't think those products were something you guys would be interested in, or I disagreed with the company's business practices. The Oversumo app from Dojo Madness is genuinely something I think you'll find useful. It is a coaching app that gives you tips as some easy reading while traveling or quick reference while waiting to respawn. The developers have worked with Reunited, one of the top European Overwatch teams, to bring you the best information they can. How do you use it? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's say there's an annoying tracer buzzing around, spouting rhyming slang in that ridiculous accent, and you want to shut her down. Well, after she's killed you for the 50th time, grab your phone while you're dead and load up Oversumo. Filter by assault heroes and then select Tracer. As you can see, we get some general tips about playing Tracer at the top, and then below we have the weak against, strong against section. We can select the heroes in this section for tips on how Tracer should play around that hero. We now know what Tracer is weak against and how she plays around them. Time to swat that fly. The app is available absolutely free on Android and iOS, and currently free from any advertising. I've put a link in the description to both versions. I currently have the app on my phone, and it has even taught me a thing or two. Now let's get into Hollywood.
Welcome to Hollywood.
It seems even in the future, Hollywood remains the same place it's always been. Bright sunshine, fancy cars, and pretentious cafes. Although Goldshire Pictures is now the biggest studio in town. I guess the Warcraft movie had a bigger impact on the industry than any of us could have ever imagined. Hollywood is a hybrid assault escort map where the attacking team are escorting legendary writer-director Hal-Fred Glitchbot, 2 references in one name, well played Team 4, to his trailer on the other side of the studio. It is one of my favourite maps, but sadly it is dominated by the power of Widowmaker at a competitive level.
Defend Objective A.
At first glance, it looks like the best place to set up your defense is this line here in front of the choke, with only this flank needing to be covered to hold. While it can be okay to push up to this choke to maybe get a few picks or poke damage for charging ultimates, you need to know when to fall back. The space you are occupying is quite small, and you are at risk of being hard engaged on. Also, if the enemy are running a Widowmaker, any picks for them have more value because of the long run from spawn the defending team has. We're actually going to defend this line here. I know it seems bonkers, but with the help of a rarely used hero we can do some great things. That hero is everyone's favourite Swedish engineer, Torbjorn.
That gets my stamp of approval!
Torbjorn is going to build his turret here.
Let's get started.
Note that Torbjorn and the turret do not occupy the same space. This is not an accident. Torbjorn will stay with the bulk of his team, only attending to his turret when there is nothing else to do. This turret positioning is unbelievably strong. There is no way for the enemy to shoot at it without having to deal with your team at the same time. We're going to run with a single tank setup, so of course we want the big man.
No lying down on the job!
As already stated, the spawn is a bit of a jog away, so Symmetra is great. She can set up her sentries along this wall here. They can be especially good when hidden among these trees. With the Symmetra, we're going to bring a Mercy for that oh so good healing and heroes never having to run from the spawn combo. Damage-wise, I feel we have many options. The high-level meta is currently dominated by Widowmaker, and she has many good vantage points here. Junkrat is awesome too for the grenade spam into the choke from the main objective. McCree is just as strong as ever, and 76 or Farah can do work too, although Farah will struggle if the attackers have a strong Widowmaker. Remember, if you're running this setup, you want to fight on the objective. This forces the enemy to fight both Torbjorn, his team, and his turret all at the same time.
Capture Objective A.
Attacking this objective in pickup games is usually very straightforward. Push the defenders back through the main choke, then use the multiple paths available to swarm the objective. Heroes like Genji and Tracer are good here, and Junkrat can do a lot of work for the attackers too, but often the only way to answer a defensive Widow is with an offensive one. Remember, if the team are running a Torbjorn and Symmetra, the defending Widow will likely not die to one headshot. You'll only do 295 damage to her 300 health. To deal with the defense we talked about earlier, we have several options. We can push around the back and hard engage the whole team, but I personally like going up onto this roof. From here, Junkrat has a pretty good chance of destroying the turret while Reinhardt protects everyone from the incoming damage from the objective below. You'll want a Mercy because quite frankly you almost always do, as Resurrect is so strong, and a Lucio for the aggressive pushing power from speed boost and sound barrier. Zenyatta instead of the Mercy is an option, as his ultimate could mean you don't need to resurrect, but only if he can stay alive long enough to get an ultimate in the first place. A McCree because with the height advantage you've got a good chance of stunning the defending Reinhardt out of his shield, and a Widow of your own to deal with the enemy one, but there are other options. Winston and Genji are both good, but I believe D.Va, who is hugely overlooked in the competitive scene, would be the best for attacking this objective. With buffs on the way, it's only going to get stronger. Not only is she going to easily get up to this perch here in the top middle of the screen, but her ultimate can safely deal with any turret placement.
Stop the payload.
Like the Streets phase of King's Row, this has a push-pull playstyle where the defending team want to play a more aggressive game. The key difference to King's Row is that Widow is strong all over these streets. Pharah will also be a really strong pick if the enemy are not running a Widow of their own. The next spawn room isn't too far away this time, so you are less punished if you switch heroes after Objective A is lost. We are of course going to put a Widow on the high ground.
Ooh la la.
She will also have the protection of the team, Reinhardt and Winston with a Mercy and Lucio. The plan is to protect the Widow, who will try to get picks and then hard engage with the Winston and Reinhardt when the payload gets closer. McCree of course excels at the close to medium range combat we're expecting when we engage, although Junkrat loves the high ground advantage too, so he could be a strong pick. If you are pushed back, your Widow can set up on top of the county jail here, and the rest of the team can hold the low ground.
Escort the payload.
The key to this stage of Hollywood is the high ground. Control the high ground, control the streets. In pickup games, heroes that can easily move between the high and low ground are king. Winston, D.Va, Genji, Pharah, Hanzo are all great picks to take the high ground and win the streets phase. In an organised game, we need to break through the high ground defence we discussed. We can wait for them to engage on us, then set up on the high ground so they can't re-establish the same setup. A Reinhardt and a Winston or D.Va to get up in the Widow's face. Winston is stronger here as he has better survivability and his ultimate is much more disrupting because he can run people down. Mercy Lucio because there really is nothing better here. Zenyatta has less power because the combat splits between high and low ground, losing line of sight, and he will get evaporated as soon as the Reinhardt shield drops. Damage-wise, we're going to bring a Genji for the multi-level combat and a Widow of your own to deal with the enemy one and then kill everybody else. With this team, you also have the option of taking the lift up to here, so everyone is on the high ground and you can worry about the payload after you wipe the enemy team.
Stop the payload.
With the final point, we are back to a more static defense. The long sightlines keep Widowmaker a top pick for both teams, and although we can attempt to hold in the warehouse, the attacking team's spawn room is very close, and it won't be long before we are pushed back to the checkpoint itself. We can keep the same team we were running before: Reinhardt, Winston, Mercy, Lucio, Widowmaker and McCree. Your McCree wants to try and hold up here to stop flankers getting through and ruining your Widowmaker's day. You could also run a 76 or Junkrat instead, but little compares to the power of McCree at the moment.
Escort the payload.
Until there are any Widowmaker changes, an attacking Widow of your own is one of the most reliable ways to deal with her. There is a good flank path Genji and other heroes with vertical mobility can use. It is possible to get here via a staircase, but the defending team can see you move towards it. With this path, the only way they'll know you are coming is with infrasight or a sonic arrow. The attacking team can also run the same team composition as the streets phase, although D.Va has significantly less power compared to Winston, as there is not really any high ground she will need to infiltrate. Push up the payload path and try to overwhelm the defenders through the multiple doorways and flanks. And that about wraps up this look at Hollywood strategy. Sadly, the power of Widowmaker really limits the possibilities on this map. I think Pharah has some real potential here, but it's just not possible while the French sniper is in her current state. Let me know in the comments what you find works for you. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon.